Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to i3 Pulse. Today, did Trump and Netanyahu unveil a Gaza peace plan or a permanent Israeli occupation? Did the Muslim leaders betray the Palestinians or were they played by Netanyahu? And the Sumud Flotilla, being escorted by the Turkish Navy with Spanish warships nearby, will they be able to finally break the Gaza siege or will they spark war at the sea? Make sure you subscribe now because only 7% of you guys are subscribers. So subscribe. We're going to continue with the episode. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. How's it going?
Assalam. Good. Alhamdulillah.
So, Sheikh, I want to get your reaction to Trump's plan that he just released yesterday to end Israel's war on Gaza.
If accepted by Hamas, this proposal calls for the release of all remaining hostages immediately, but in no case more than 72 hours. So the hostages are coming back. Arab and Muslim countries have committed, and in writing in many cases, but I actually would take their word for it. The people I mentioned, I'd take their word for it. To demilitarize Gaza, and that's quickly. Decommission the military capabilities of Hamas and all other terror organizations. Do that immediately. And we're relying on the countries that I named and others.
So Trump is saying a lot of things, Sheikh, that they want to release the hostages very quickly. They want these Muslim countries to demilitarize Gaza themselves. So what are your thoughts?
Well, there's nothing new, to be honest. There's nothing new. I think the Israelis and the Americans are exactly on the same page. Really, the only difference that we've been speaking about since it's been the last 2 years ago is that the Americans don't want like full out transfer of people out of Gaza, but they're okay with bit by bit. The Israelis want like full push. Again, they're not asking for that anymore because they understood it's not going to be possible so quickly, but they're still pushing. And to be honest, the reason this genocide have happened for 2 years is because they want to break the will of the population, right? Don't forget, and beside the fact that Hamas is on terror lists and so forth, put that aside. These type of militant resistance movements, their soil and their oxygen is the population. It seems like Hamas could have been destroyed in 2 days if the Gaza population is not in support of them, right? At least the good majority, right? You need to understand that. So the United States and the Israelis and the Arab leaders understand that, which is why basically Hamas is not the problem, actually, to be honest. It's not Hamas the problem. The problem is the Palestinians themselves. With Hamas or without Hamas, with an Islamic resistance movement, or with the resistance movement like Fatah maybe at the beginning of its time, whatever it is, there was lots of secular, nationalist, Arabist, right? Resistance movements, communist resistance, socialist resistance movement. So forget about the Islamic ones, forget about basically the whole terror ones, right? We're speaking about basically resistance movement in general. So what the Americans know is that basically the Palestinians that are actually pro-resistance, okay? Whether it's militant resistance or, peaceful resistance, they are pro-resistance, period. And that's why they wanted to butcher their babies and butcher their women and burn their land and destroy everything, okay? The plan is very simple. They want to just teach the world that, not just the Muslims, but the whole world, whether it's Latin America, Africa, Southeast Asia, or the Middle East. If you resist, you're going to get crushed and burned to death. You're going to get your babies to be butchered on TV. You're going to get your blood spilled over everywhere, and nobody's going to come for your rescue. Now, I believe this plan basically backfired, okay? Because I don't think basically the Palestinians are broken enough yet. This is what the data shows, what the videos are showing. And the population of North America and Europe, are rising up, which is very good. It makes me feel good that there's humanity in people today. Okay? People are going on the streets in the thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands in Italy and Spain and this and that.
Well, they shut down 75 cities in Italy.
Yeah, even the Americans, even right Americans like Charlie Kirk says, look, October 7th is a false flag. He's like, I came to the Gaza border. I know that the Israelis and Netanyahu government were part of making October 7 happen. Okay, they didn't do anything for hours and hours.
Yeah,
and these guys, with a click of a button, they can get to the border and just smash everybody, and just literally they can smash and slash all these what's it called, these little parachutes with whatever. This whole thing was made to just create world anger. Okay, so I'm pretty sure there's lots of Mossad spies inserted into into Hamas inside of Gaza, and they push this silly stupidity, right? Like it's just like this whole these go-karts, and it's just really this kind of Hollywood thing, right? So definitely we are against all that stuff. But we believe is basically, sadly, I also believe, like Charlie Kirk, that this is a false flag. It was, I'm not saying, well, it's not really fully false flag, but at least they knew that this was happening. Maybe they supported it happen. Maybe their moles and their agents within Hamas, basically, they pushed for that direction. At the end of the day, whether it's false flag, not false flag, we are against all this. But put that aside. Now, why is Trump moving now? Is the plan ready? Well, no, I don't think so. But again, the popular opinion, the public opinion of Israel has been really, really down the drain in the West. Okay, and this is not like by Muslims. This is not public opinion of Muslims in the West. This is public opinion of Europeans, white, Caucasian, left and right people. So
you can see that even at the UN, right? Like how many people left when Netanyahu was speaking, how many people spoke about a Palestinian state. Even the leader of Colombia, the president of Colombia, is like calling in the US, telling the US army to disobey orders. And he's talking about how there needs to be a peacekeeping force to push against Israel. So their popularity or that whole kind of propaganda is completely shattered.
Yeah.
Now, Sheikh, in terms of this plan, right, there are many things that are in this proposal, like a 20-point proposal. But the thing that surprises me, there's a few things. One is the plan ties the withdrawal of the IDF from the Gaza Strip, and it's in stages where they still will control the perimeters, most of it anyways, but they tie it to the total disarmament of Hamas. Now, does this not give Israel pretty much an indefinite reason to just stay in Gaza because of they're not disarmed, they're still, there?
Look, I think the Israelis also, don't forget, like the Israeli economy is been hit. The Israeli society, social fabric has been hit. Many people immigrated out of Israel. They're like, look, this is not a place for me and my kids. Yeah. They went back to their homelands in Europe and so forth, and the United States. So the Israeli army has been stretched for a long time. Lots of people, basically, lots of soldiers are defecting. Lots of some soldiers are committing suicide. Lots of soldiers are speaking up against this whole war. So it's not sustainable. You need to understand, Israel is a very small little country. Right, occupying 2 million people, which is like 1/3 of its own population, is whatever the number is, exact number, is not easy. You see what I'm saying? So that being said, I think it seems the Trump administration and the Netanyahu government said, look, enough is enough. Look, we need to just stop this, and that's where basically, they're going to be using Arab nations to come in and finish the job. If these Arab nations have nothing to say except yes, sir, so they're going to come in and finish what the Israeli IDF didn't finish, and they're going to basically be bossed by Tony Blair, bossed around by Tony Blair, right? So that's really what's happening.
Now, with this, I'm just picturing that scene, right? Like these specific, let's say, Arab or international troops now going in to try to disarm, and Hamas. Are they going to? It seems like, are they just going to be used as almost like the cannon fodder to just continue for what Israel wanted, while Israel can say, look, we're not putting in resources into this?
Look, let me tell you something. Right now, I see all this as income paper, right? Everybody's saying yes. And then when push comes to shove and they need to execute, I don't know which Arab country is going to basically send their soldiers to do so, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
It's going to be a disaster. But put that aside. Let's give me another. The other example is Hezbollah and the Lebanese government. The Lebanese government, until now, they didn't make a move. And they told the Americans, look, we can't do it. Tom Barak himself said, look, they've been telling us we cannot do it. And we told them, we got to go and do it. We will never pay you a dime until you go do it. And you have to do it. Otherwise, we'll let you just die. So the Lebanese government is saying, well, we can't do this. It's going to be a civil war, that we probably could lose. And so let's see. It's going to continue to look. The Americans and the UK and the United States, this one axis in specific, they're dragging the Europeans with them and so forth. Not by force. The Europeans are okay with it, but since they're not on the same page from an world economic perspective, there might be some pushing to do. They want the region to continue to be on fire. This is the goal. Yeah, it's really it. And that's why people ask like, well, how come the United States doesn't like if they have control? Why don't they just push the Egyptians to let the people go? Because they want the problem to continue. They want the pressure to continue. They want the region to continuously be in perpetual, conflict and wars and death and blood. Yeah, this is the world order that we're living under.
Now, going to someone you mentioned, right, Tony Blair, right, the former Prime Minister of England. What I found interesting on this proposal is if you look at the Mahmoud Abbas, right, the Palestinian Authority, right, people would see them as kind of pretty much doing what Israel wants them to do. Now, in this proposal, they're not even comfortable with giving control to the Palestinian Authority by name. They said actually until the Palestinian Authority makes the needed reforms that are required, there will be a board of peace headed by Tony Blair. Now, what is the end game there? If they can't even give anything to the Palestinian Authority, what is really the end game at this point?
No. So look, this is just fake. Like you need to understand all the Palestinian people in the world, even Christian Palestinians, even secular Palestinians, whatever it is, like, and druggies, they lost faith in the Palestinian Authority, right? Like it's just Palestinians is just the biggest joke of all time for Palestinians. And that's why the more basically that the Israelis and the UK, US kind of like, talk down onto it, they give it just a little bit of credibility with its blind followers. That, see, they don't trust it. That they're resisting somehow, that they need reform. You know what I'm saying? It's not just Hamas needs reform and demilitarization. Oh, this also needs reform. So that's the only thing. But the Palestinian Authority is the scum of the scum. Like the Palestinian Authority, the scum of the scum. There's no more scum than that. And all Palestinians know that. You see what I'm saying? But again, they have like the 2%. People say that we can offer any good a service, and you can always find 2% of the population that will buy it, right? So there's that 2% population that blindly follows the PLO, or at least benefiting, maybe a little bit more. They're benefiting from it, and they just need some justification just for their little guilty consciousness. So they feed them this propaganda just to say, "Wow, yeah, see, they don't like us. We're doing the right thing. We're standing off against the colonialists and the imperialism and blah blah blah." No, the Palestinian Authority, and maybe if they mean that, they might mean it literally, where they need a little bit better skill set to do their dirty job. You know what I'm saying? So they just need to do worse than what they're doing. So either or is just literally, it's bad news anyway for the Palestinians from that perspective. All Palestinians should not have any respect for this authority that just didn't do anything for their interests for the last whatever years.
And it was very interesting how even the media, or let's say even the statements and positioning, is even coming from an angle of propaganda. Right, it was a very good point, actually, that they could be doing this to actually put up their reputation as well. Now, there was an interesting article on Axios because Trump mentioned, right, these Arab leaders are supporting of it. In fact, actually, they even wrote a whole joint statement, right, of many Muslim countries did this. Now, there was a report on Axios afterwards saying that Trump's plan, the Arab leaders weren't happy with Trump because when Trump met Netanyahu, they made some changes to this plan. One of them they've claimed on Axios is that the withdrawal lines. So they made, instead of withdrawing fully, they gave Israel pretty much half of Gaza for a time being, adding Blair and Trump and all that stuff, and then tying the withdrawal to the Hamas demilitarization, which they know is never going to really happen. So is this propaganda as well, like to make the Muslim countries look like, oh, they're not fully pro this? Or do you think Netanyahu came in and made some changes behind the scenes?
No, definitely. Look, I think they're pressuring the Arab regimes to do so. And the Arab regimes know that they have no way to say no directly, at least.
Yeah.
And then they'll fail at the execution stage and stuff like that. And this maybe might explain Erdogan's statement that Trump promised peace in Ukraine. Didn't happen. He promised peace in Gaza. He's just wink, wink. It's not going to happen. So it seems basically the Trump pressured them, and they had to give him a yes there, and kiss his hands and so forth. But I don't think they believe it, and they don't believe they can execute on it, just like the Lebanese government cannot do it. Like behind the scenes say, look, we're with you, we want to do it, blah, blah, but it's not doable. The Trump administration is asking these Arab leaders for the impossible, right? So, but let's see how it goes. At the end of the day, they did give a yes. And,
they're pushing actually Hamas right now to accept it. Qatar, Turkey, and Egypt. Now, there's one clip I do want to get your thoughts on, and this is Netanyahu talking about Qatar. We spoke about Qatar, and this is a follow-up onto that, on what he stated here.
We had a phone call today just to make it clear. I said to the Prime Minister of Qatar, Israel was targeting terrorists, wasn't targeting Qatar. And of course, we regretted the loss of the Qatari citizen. It wasn't our target. And I very much appreciate President Trump's proposal to have a trilateral body, the United States, Israel, and Qatar, to work out respective grievances. There are quite a few. But if we could try to...
So Netanyahu really, he just look at his tone like it was like, wasn't our target. Like the way he's speaking is almost an apology, non-apology, right? And there's a famous picture, we'll put it up here, that just came out of Netanyahu in the Oval Office holding a phone, reading a script, apparently, which is saying he's speaking and apologizing. Now, what does this mean for the Abraham Accords, right? That they hit Qatar, he hit these places, and they're not even pretending really to be so apologetic about it. Like even the tone was just so fake.
Look, you need to understand. First of all, the Israelis don't care, right? That's number one. Number two, because they have a green light. As Tom Barak said, basically, they have a green light. They gave them a green light publicly. They have all the political cover to do what they want, so they don't have to apologize for anybody. But what we need to understand, that the where ideology intersects with world international relations. Okay, maybe we've never discussed it in depth, before, but we need to understand, why is the United States supporting Israeli aggression like that, also from an ideological perspective. In the United States, there's a very strong and even growing evangelical Christian base. And that started basically like pre-Reagan, right? Like in the 70s, and they became very, big in the 80s, and they continued to grow in the 90s and now, right? So look at the U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, right? This guy, at one point in time, I think he was going to run for presidency, right? So he is a very alt-right Christian. I think he's a pastor, if I'm not mistaken, evangelical pastor, right? In the evangelicals in the United States and the Protestants in general, both in Europe and North America, believe that Jesus will not come back until the state of Israel is built and it fights like some other, enemy power in Armageddon. Like when the Armageddon happens, that's when Jesus Christ come back. And that's what all Protestants believe, is all about. Like you need to understand that they're hardcore Christian fundamentalists, right? And they want Jesus to come back. That's their goal in life, is to bring Jesus back. And that means you need to help the Jews establish their state and create enough friction to create that Armageddon that basically and build a temple, all the stuff basically to bring Jesus back. This isn't their scripture. It's in the scripture. Even from an Islamic perspective, we have most of these events talking about. So like
eschatology, end of time. Yes.
And so it's real. So they believe it, right? We don't believe it the way they believe it. We believe that Jesus is going to return, but put that aside. So this is what, like, look at Mike Huckabee, how he speaks to the Israelis. He made lots of lectures he gave a talk and made lots of statements in the last 3-4 weeks.
Yeah.
They're very religiously intense.
Yeah.
And now, so the idea from a Christian perspective is you need to use the Jewish entity to basically bring Jesus. And then after Jesus comes back, every evangelical Christian will tell you they want to basically get rid of the Jews, or at least Christianize them, right? Either or. That's what they believe.
Jews want to get rid of the Christians, and the Christians want to get rid of the Jews. It's like an allyship of convenience, in a sense.
Well, it's not like that. From the Jewish perspective, they're too small to get rid of the Christian world, right? So I'm not sure if that's what they say, but the Jewish community wants to basically, bring back their earlier what's it called?
You have the third temple,
Earlier
civilization.
Glory. Yeah.
Yeah, glory. Yeah.
So the Jewish community wants to. Well, see, the Jews are split. We're not speaking about the Jews right now. We're speaking about basically the Zionists. The Orthodox Jews are against the building of the state of Israel, right? The majority of them.
Yeah.
And then you have the Zionist Jews who basically want to build a political entity that gives them, the old glory of the Jewish heritage. Like, the kingdom of Israel under David, alayhi salam. For us, basically, David is one of the great prophets and messengers. So we believe in him. We believe in the state he built and so forth back then, and King Solomon and so forth. But aside from our beliefs, from their perspective, so the Zionists, Jews want to build their old glory, and they want to build a state that can be a place of prosperity for their community, right? So now they understand that the evangelical Christians know how they want to use them, right? So both sides are just
Using each other,
like using each other knowingly, and everybody goes there being fake and phony, and like every Jewish person who is listening to Huckabee knows that he's lying. Every one of them, everyone. The secular non-religious Jews know that he's lying, and the Orthodox religious Jews are lying. They know that he's lying, but this is like, what I'm saying? Like, it's so crazy. Like, so what you need to understand right now, because of the goals of the American administration, it intersects with ideology. It's not always basically aligned with ideology, I'm saying, but it does intersect sometimes. So the Trump administration, they want to dismantle, this whole sense of a grand nation for the Muslims, okay, and so they want to kill any sense of like ambition, resistance, thinking of unification or political independence, because you need to understand the Muslim world is still subservient to the Western colonial powers that occupied it 200 years ago plus. It's still there, right? Lots of these regimes, if they're not like direct agents, the system overall are remnants to these historical political forces. Yeah. Okay, so colonialism is still there in some form or another, and the Americans with the British specifically, and the rest of the Western world behind them, they want to keep the Muslims subservient. Now, what's been happening for the last, let's say, 40, 50 years since the 70s, which is we call the decade of the awakening, right? The Islamic awakening happened in the 70s and 80s. They don't want this awakening. They want the Muslims to keep sleeping, accepting the drink the Kool-Aid, drink the colonial culture, and not resist, be slaves, be okay with basically their lands being rampaged and the resources plundered and continue to be a backward nation. They don't want a renaissance. They do not want a renaissance, an intellectual renaissance in the Muslim world in the Middle East. They do not want that. That's a red line. Because the Islamic civilization, they see it as a threat to Western civilization. They try to hide behind that, the Islamic civilization is violent. It's not violent. It's actually very peaceful. Okay? It is super peaceful. It's very ideological, very intellectual, very pro, economic development and human development and peace around the world. This is actually the truth about Islamic civilization. Okay? We're not saying it's all beautiful from a historical perspective, because humans are humans and they're faulty, but what Islam speaks about, what Islam promotes, right? This is what we're speaking about. Now, how do you hinder civilizational progress? Through wars, through death, through killing. And how do you hinder people who believe that they can rise and they can prosper and that there's a better future? Is you learn helplessness. You crush them. And this is what's happening. Gaza is being used, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, what's his name? Thomas Friedman in the New York Times wrote an article saying all that. He's saying the goals of Gaza is to crush the sentiment of the Palestinians. No resistance, just submit. And by the way, so I just remembered that Tom Barak had an interview with the if I'm not mistaken, the Arabic version of the Sky News, right? And he said that the Muslim world, or I don't know if it's the Muslim world or the Arab world, so it says in the Arabic language, there's no word for submission.
Yeah.
They don't understand that, right? And they want us to submit. They want the Arab world to submit to Western orders. Well, hold on. Isn't this a contradiction? Because the Western world created the United Nations, created the Charter of Rights, created basically what they call human rights that they claim is universal. Definitely it's not universal. It's just only for the Western Europeans, not even the Eastern Europeans, the Western and the North Americans, right? But set that aside, because there are lots of good people in North America and Europe that understand this hypocrisy. And that's why I really appreciate that the populations are saying no. You need to understand, we as Muslims, we don't see color. We're not against the blacks or the whites or the Europeans. We have the heart to love everybody, and we want peace and prosperity for everybody. And I'm not saying it for show. This is what we really believe. I've been saying this for the last 30 years. This doesn't make sense, right? This is what I believe as a person, but who cares about me? This is what Islam says. So that's why the real reason they see the Islamic civilization as a threat, and behind the scenes they know it's not about violence, because we are not violent people. Islam is not violent, right? It's because now the Western civilization creates poverty by design, creates inequality by design, creates concentration of wealth by design, creates so much injustices within their own countries. You need to understand. Is an American today happy compared to the American maybe 50 years ago? No. It's going down. Look at Europe. It's not even like a first. It's not even a second. What's it called? First world.
Second. I see.
So it's not even a second world countries, right? It's not even second world countries. They're slipping into the third world. But anyway, but you know what I'm saying? Like, so. They don't want a civilizational challenger. They don't want a real model of a country where, for example, healthcare is not just like free for everybody, but it's very high quality. It's efficient. Nobody's going to wait for 6 months. People are going to take care of you. A place where there's big farmers not going to just push for their own selfish, greedy interests and just, get people to take all type of medicines and jack up the price because of patents. This is one aspect. They don't want a country that basically has very low or no taxes, and especially no taxes on the lower class and the middle class, but taxes only on the rich class. Unlike we have today in the Western world, there's loopholes. Yeah, the rich doesn't pay taxes. The middle class pay all the taxes. That's how it works. They don't want a place where there is no racial bigotry. There's love and peace for everybody. This is what we're speaking about. You see what I'm saying? Now, the Islamic model, it will always trump any other model. And that's why it's a threat for Western civilization, because those who are super rich, they're going to basically be naked in front of their own populations. You see what I'm saying? So now, saying all that, understanding the ideology from both sides, the Western, the greedy capitalist ideology, and also the Christian evangelical ideology and the Zionist ideology, wrap all that together now, and you see why what's happening in Gaza is important for the Western political strategist. And the Western strategist doesn't want the West to be doing the dirty job of genocide, which is why they tell the Zionists to do it, because they don't care. They're like, it's a tool anyway. So it's a tool for the capitalists to do the dirty job, to dismantle the rise of Islamic civilization. It's a tool in the hand of the Christian evangelical who wants, they want Armageddon as soon as possible. So as you can see, everybody's using everybody knowingly. Like, I want you to understand, everybody knows, everybody's lying. Netanyahu comes, lies. Trump speaks lies. Huckabee speaks and lies, and everybody knows what everybody's positions is. As a Muslim, I wish the whole world to be in peace and to be in justice. And that's what Islam calls for. We do not like any type of violence. And this is how it works. We are people of ideas. We are people of conviction. We are people who of care to everybody else.
it really paints the picture, Sheikh, right? Because people only look at it from the Armageddon side, like the evangelical side. And well, some of them talk about, they're being controlled by Israel. But then the evangelical base is huge in America. And then the capitalists who want to destroy the world on the other end. And then like there's just so many forces, but it's pushing in one direction. Now, in terms of like all these players that are trying to create issues within the Muslim world, there is something that everyone's watching live right now, right? In terms of the Sumud Flotilla, right? And right now it's actually very close, about within actually approaching the zone of where usually most flotillas are intercepted by Israel. But what we're seeing this time is something different. We're seeing that there is a warship, Spanish warship as well, escorting them. The Turkish Navy, there's a couple of ships escorting them. And there's also drones, Turkish drones encircling the flotilla right
Italian,
now.
also Italian.
And then Italian. And the Italians were kind of telling them to turn back. But yes, Italians too. Now, what is the objective behind this, right? Because we're seeing this. And at the same time, Colombian presidents calling for fighting against Israel. So is this to protect the flotilla, to sabotage the flotilla, break the ceasefire, break the blockade? Like, what's happening here?
Well, no. To be honest, again, these Western nations are just trying to respond as a PR campaign to their populations. So the populations is what's driving them to take some measures. Otherwise, they would have just let them just sink and get killed.
Yeah.
But and that's big thanks to all the European people and people in North America and people across the world who are just saying no to genocide. We really appreciate it. We don't need to be the same religion to have humanity. You see what I'm saying? And this is very important. I think all this is just fake, and they've been pushed by the strong public opinion in Europe to make such moves. Really,
Now, the Israeli media has reported something very strange, actually, that the foreign minister of Israel coincidentally discovered some information in Gaza linking Hamas to the flotilla. So they're saying that there is a linkage and funding, which is all lies. Now, does this give them, are they setting up, and my fear is they're setting up a pretext to now hit them because they're saying, look, we have the evidence, they're Hamas, we have to protect our country. And if that happens, will they get into a clash with maybe the Spanish and with the Turks? Is there a possibility there?
It looks like, I would not be surprised if the Israelis, they just shoot everybody and they destroy it. They because most of them are Western citizens, they might be a little bit more careful, but they will still basically harm them. So let's see how it goes. I think we need to watch it. I hope nobody gets injured. Again, we really wish all these people, safety and to come back safe and to get the job done of making a stance against the genocide and the blockade. But yeah, I believe that the Israelis will not think twice. It seems probably they have a red line that if they pass through a specific. Red line, they will shoot and they'll harm them.
When they've done it before in 2019, they've killed 10
definitely.
people and then 50 people injured. They're known to be very savage, and we're seeing what's happening in the genocide. Now, also we're seeing other types of movement in the region, right? We're seeing that the U.S. has reportedly moved dozens of tankers, KC-135s and KC-46 tankers, into the Middle East. Now, actually put into Qatar, Al Udeid. Some also staged in the UK. Are the Americans preparing for a new strike, and if so, against who?
To be honest, basically right now, there's only a few possibilities, right? So number one is Afghanistan. If they want to strike and get the Bagram, let's say, the airfield. The second one is we saw the son of Ali Abdullah Saleh from Yemen come again and just threaten the Houthis and say that their days are numbered and stuff like that, or similar language. So maybe they want to strike the Houthis and get rid of them to get back their old buddy, Ali Abdullah Saleh's son, right?
And he said that after a prolonged period of silence. I think people don't understand.
Oh yeah,
that.
They came back from out of nowhere, literally.
Out of nowhere,
just a couple days ago.
Yeah,
she came in and made a recorded video message, and so that's the second possibility. A third possibility, we can always just put Iran as a possibility there. Probably not, but. That's really it. That's all what I can think of right now, really. You don't need that for Gaza. Unless it is also basically maybe, it's at least they're signaling. Probably not, definitely, but it's just thinking out loud, really.
Yeah.
But these are the possibilities, and it could be just a show. The Trump administration is just likes to do lots of shows. But yeah, let's wait and see. I think we need to watch the next couple of days to see what, at least even from a negotiation perspective, what is this for? So let's see, and we'll go from there.
Now, to bring the podcast to a close, you mentioned, Sheikh, the activists and the people who are rallying around the world to push for that, push against occupation, push against the genocide, right? And how that is something very appreciated, respected. Here's Netanyahu saying something very recently about a specific battle that Israel needs to win.
I won't get into that, but we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are the social media. And the most important purchase that is going on right now is followers. TikTok. TikTok, number one. And I hope it goes through because it can be consequential. And the other one, what's the other one that's most important? X. That's very good. And, so we have to talk to Elon. He's not an enemy. He's a friend. We should talk to him. Now, if we can get those two things, we get a lot. And I could go on other things, but that's not the point right now. We have to fight the fight, okay? To give direction to the Jewish people.
So now he speaks about TikTok. He mentions X. He says Elon Musk, friend of ours, right? So the TikTok purchase, Sheikh, is very, very, strange, right? Because they pulled out the U.S. arm and they gave it to, and it was funded by specific people. Larry Ellison from Oracle, right? He's also a huge share. And he's a friend of Israel, big donor to the IDF. And another person, which people don't know much about, is surprisingly the brother of the UAE ruler MBZ, his brother as well. With his organization, he also made a big purchase. Now, really, the question here is, we see Netanyahu's concerned about media. What does this move imply for Muslims and activists around the world? Like, should our focus shift from relying on these platforms to now building platforms, owning platforms, to now really spread the right message? Because now they seem to be grabbing these platforms to control their narrative.
Well, look, it's at the end of the day, building platforms is not easy. It's very highly costly. And even, let's say, Muslims build a platform, at the end of the day, it'll be taken away. Like the Chinese built it, the Americans took it. So it's not... What we need to do is to continue doing what we're doing. Building people with the skill set to be on these platforms and do our best to continue as a group, as social media grassroots activists. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. That's what could really... this is what led the Palestinian voice to be loud and the Israeli voice to be low. You see what I'm saying? So I think we just need to keep doing what we're doing and just keep learning media and how to use media and how to be very skilled at the media instead of focusing on tech and stuff like that.
And I think this goes to show, right, to people who like to say that, we're not able to do anything, right? I can't do anything. It's just up to the Muslim leaders, learned helplessness, as you mentioned. But Netanyahu is actually speaking about a big battle, which is the media. Like, he feels it, right? So he sees the things that maybe as people, we don't think big enough to see that. And definitely, Sheikh, what you mentioned about being organized on media is very key as well. So, Sheikh, Jazakumullah khairan, appreciate the time, really the analysis and going over what we can do. I felt like, it's a very tough situation, but we have hope. There's a lot of things that can be done. So I really appreciate that. So everybody, make sure you like, you share, you comment, you subscribe. Don't watch incognito, don't watch in secret. And we will continue to keep giving you quality content. And we'll see you all on the next episode of i3 Pulse. Assalamu alaikum.